Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to a Slice of Time, where we go back 25 years ago in professional wrestling to discuss all the news, notes, results, everything going on behind the scenes and in the arenas. I am your presenter, Nate Maxon, and this week we are going to be covering the week of July the 26th, 1997. And as I always do, I have to give credit. All the news, notes, and results I pull for this show come from the Pro Wrestling Torch newsletter. That being said, I have a special co-host this week. My brother Aaron is here from the Reliving the Extreme podcast. Let's say that one.
Hello, everyone. How are you guys doing? I do like the fact that you used the torch because he's probably my favorite, non-kayfabe wrestling journalist.
Yes, I like the fact that in the Pro Wrestling Torch, when I read the news, they have opinion pages, but the news isn't also laced with his opinion. I like that. And again, they have every right to have their own opinion pages. It's their publication. But that way, if I just want to read the straight news, I don't have to have his opinion mixed in with it like another guy does.
Yeah, Dave Meltzer.
I was about to say an observant guy does. But that being said, like I said, this is cover date July the 26th, 1997 this week. And Aaron, is there anything you want to throw out there before we get into it?
No, just let's get at it. I mean, there's not really. I mean, we plug everything all the time anyway. So if you guys don't know about any of our shows, I don't know what you're doing. Like, pay attention.
This week there isn't a ton of news, but we'll go into it anyway. A couple of substantial things, though. We'll start with the WWF, go into WCW, ECW, and then I do have a week of indie results to go through. So,
Okay.
In Your House pay-per-view expand to 3 hours. The WWF has expanded all future 2-hour pay-per-views to 3 hours and $29.95, starting with September's In Your House Ground Zero. The original concept of the 2-hour pay-per-view was to avoid overexposing the product. With WCW having expanded their schedule to monthly 3-hour pay-per-views and finding success, and with WCW's increased buy rates recently, WCW is now outdrawing WWF in overall pay-per-view revenue. By expanding their pay-per-views to 3 hours and charging more, the WWF could move back into a dead heat with WCW in terms of overall revenue. The WWF is also putting together a special 4-hour TV special for Sky Sports, including sit-down interviews with The Undertaker, Bret Hart, British Bulldog, and Shawn Michaels. Jim Ross is plugging that Undertaker talked about his relationship with Kevin Nash, and that the Michaels interview will be edited down from 3-hour candid conversation he had with him 2 weeks ago. So they're expanding every pay-per-view to 3 hours at this point. And it's funny to read it now. Back then, they're like, oh, they were worried about oversaturation, and now every pay-per-view is like 5.5 hours long. Yeah,
5 hours long, and got a 6-hour pre-show. And there's 2 of them in a month.
Yeah.
What the hell?
And that's just one company. Jesus.
Yeah. That's one thing I'll give AEW. They do that right. They don't have, as far as I know, they don't have a pay-per-view every month.
They do not have a pay-per-view every month. Their pay-per-views are also super long, but like you said, they don't have one every month.
At least they don't have a fucking 6-hour mega event every month.
Yeah.
But this is the end of In Your House.
Yeah, I think the last one they actually call In Your House is Degeneration X in December.
Yeah.
And then once you get into 98, it's just, I think the first one that isn't is No Way Out in February of 98. But yeah.
No,
like
what
you said,
that? Let me think. I think the last one was Breakdown. Maybe no.
Do they still?
Right. You're right. I'm incorrect.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was thinking I couldn't remember. I just remember at some point in 98.
I think it is Breakdown.
Okay.
Breakdown, because that one was like Breakdown, and then In Your House was like really small underneath it.
It keeps getting the In Your House part keeps getting smaller and smaller every month.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, go ahead.
I think those In Your Houses were cool. That was the pay-per-view you could afford, and Mom would let us buy every once in a while. I didn't have any money. You worked at Music Town or whatever. And scrape up $20. Music Land. It wasn't Music Town.
Music Land. Yes. Music City. But yeah, that was, and those shows were always. I liked the in your house concept. It was like you said, it was shorter. It was cheaper.
It was 2 big matches and then 3 matches that were just kind of.
It was like half. It was like half pay per view, half house show.
Yeah.
Let's see. Go into the news here. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart are on the WWF's Wrestle Vessel cruise together from July 14th to the 18th. No one has been thrown overboard yet. I like that. That's a funny line. While filming footage for a Coliseum home video WWF bloopers tape, Howard Finkel got struck by a referee and suffered a shoulder injury. Damn. Tim White is a big old boy, was a big old boy.
It's the original Botchamania, I guess. I don't know. But so they were making a fake blooper video and they had a blooper.
Yes.
Because all the WWF blooper videos are fucking fake.
Yeah, they're stupid.
Like they're not really showing you the bloopers. Now they can on YouTube.
I was gonna say you could do an entire video of Mean Gene Okerlund interviews, the fun stuff.
Fucking prick. Just shit like that.
On Raw, oh, cool. I'm glad they have some Raw signs on here. On Raw, a fan held up a sign that said, Linda McMahon is hot.
No.
Another fan sign read, lick me, Steve. A guy held up that sign.
Which, is he talking about Steve Austin or just Steve?
I don't know. A random Steve? I don't know. Michinoku Pro held a press conference on July 18th to announce matches for their big October 10th Sumo Hall show in Tokyo. Great Sasuke What's that?
I was going to say, this is like a legitimate thing that's really happened. I remember this story. A guy, I can't fucking remember his name though. Like, mind you, this was like, at the height of the sign era, so like 25 years ago or whatever. A dude held up a sign. I'll just make up the name. It said like, Steve Johnson steals from work. And somebody saw it and they looked into Steve Johnson and found out he was really stealing.
He was really stealing?
Yeah. And he tried to sue the guy with the sign over the fact that he lost his job. That's a real thing.
That's funny.
Anyway.
The Michinoku Pro press conference. Like I said, Great Sasuke, the promoter of Michinoku Pro, announced Undertaker versus Hakushi, Jinsei Shinzaki, as the main event. Plus, Sasuke will wrestle a WWF wrestler, and 3 other WWF wrestlers will be on the card. The announcement solidifies the relationship between the WWF and Michinoku Pro as a two-way agreement. Hakushi debuts for All Japan under his real name on July 25th. He teams with Johnny Smith against Jun Akiyama and Hiroshi Hase at Budokan Hall. Meanwhile, the Japanese press is reporting that Sasuke plans to have another meeting with the WWF about his situation with them. He said he was upset that his ticket to the U.S. was economy class, whereas Taka Michinoku was flown first class. He said the WWF doesn't understand the Japanese way of business, and thus, as of now, says he has said no to future dates for the World Wrestling Federation. It's unclear how much of that is work and shoot, but Sasuke is facing legit heat in Japan from wrestlers and others who work for Michinoku Pro, who believe he betrayed them by forming an alliance with the WWF that would take talent away from Michinoku Pro promotion. I think it's funny. You fly him first class, you fly me coach.
Yeah, he thought it was going to be a big, I think they even thought it. They thought
he was going to be the big deal. Yeah.
Well, and I think the WWF saw that too, and then saw that he was kind of a prima donna, and then the guy they brought him in to work with was better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was everything I hear, cool dude, Taka.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Good worker.
Good worker, didn't bitch. and in my opinion, is a better wrestler than Sasuke. So, yeah, and that Taker Hakushi thing did happen. Like, he pulled that off. But I just think that I think he went in there trying to big dick or whatever, and they were just like, we don't even really know who you are. Like,
yeah.
like
it's not.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say it's not like you're Muda or somebody that American wrestling fans are gonna recognize.
Yeah.
Because
and when Muda first came over here, nobody knew who the fuck Muda was. You know what I mean? He had to adapt and work and be willing to learn and travel. And the Sasuke guy didn't have to do that. He just walked right in and thought, okay, I'm gonna be the man around here.
I'm a big star. I'm big in Japan.
Big in Japan ain't shit here.
At the July 14th Raw, Sid began hyperventilating and had what was to be described as an anxiety attack. He was taken to the hospital via ambulance. Because of the seriousness of the complications he is having from his back problems, aggravated by the car accident last month, he has been unable to work out and has lost a lot of weight, and it's considered possibility he won't wrestle again. It's also possible, depending on his progress, that he could return to the ring in a matter of weeks. This story is true, but he did not go to the hospital via ambulance. According to Jim Cornette, he said, I'm having an anxiety or a heart attack, but instead of going to the hospital, he had Harvey Whippleman take him back to his hotel room. So he did not have an anxiety attack or a heart attack. He just did not want to work that night. But yeah, that's the true story. Cornette's like, he didn't go to the hospital. Harvey took him back to the hotel.
This was the car accident with Fran Stefan and Flash Funk, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's it for the news wire. Let's see if there's any. Yes, we do have a couple house shows here for the WWF. July 18th in Worcester, Massachusetts at the Centrum, one of their favorite arenas in the 90s. 4,596 in attendance. Scott Taylor beat Leif Cassidy. Brian Pillman beat Flash Funk. The Nation of Domination beat the Blackjacks. The Godwins beat the Headbangers. Big surprise, Hunter Hearst Helmsley beat Goldust. Steve Austin and Dude Love beat Brett and Owen Hart. That would have been fun.
Was a banger. That was a banger.
Yeah, that's what I was say. That would have been fun. You didn't get to see Brett and Owen team up a lot.
No.
For as intertwined as, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you look, they have that history from like 93 to 97, but I can count on my one hand how many times I actually got to watch them actually tag team together. Let's see, where were we here? Ken Shamrock beat the British Bulldog via disqualification, and The Undertaker beat Vader in a casket match to retain the WWF title.
Good show.
Yeah.
It's a solid show.
July 20th in Sydney, Nova Scotia at the Memorial Stadium with the same crew, drew 3,654. Cassidy beat Taylor. The Godwins beat the Headbangers. Pillman beat Flash Funk. NOD beat Blackjacks. Shamrock beat Bulldog via DQ. Goldust beat Hunter. Brett and Owen beat Austin and Dude Love in a non-title match. And Undertaker beat Vader in a casket match. So pretty much the same card.
Could you imagine Flash Funk versus Brian Pillman before he got his fucking ankle fused? Good God. That would have been fantastic. I'm sure they still had a great match, but a healthy Brian Pillman versus Too Cold would have been a fucking great.
Did they ever wrestle each other in WCW? Like when the Blondes were the tag champs or whatever? No. I couldn't remember if Scorpio was teaming with Bagwell when the Blondes were tag champs. I don't know. Maybe not. But yeah, you're right. That would have been a great matchup. Those two guys, perfect, both in perfect health, perfect condition.
Yeah.
All right, so that is it for the WWF. Let's move into WCW. There is a Saturday night taping here, so we'll do that. The first news item, though, third hour of Nitro. Eric Bischoff has already changed his mind on adding a third hour of Nitro, perhaps because of how well the WWF did with the SummerSlam special. It's almost a lock. A third hour of Nitro will be added and called Nitro Plus and feature a format different from the previous 2 hours. It may start as soon as August 4th in order to prevent the WWF from having a 1 week with an hour to themselves from 10 to 11. Bad move. Bad move expanding to 3 hours. And, however many years later, it was a bad move for WWF to expand to 3 hours. But
yeah, and I'm hoping, I know this is about new stuff, but I'm hoping that might be a direction that some of our new front office players say, hey.
See, I don't know, because the reason that Raw went to 3 hours is because the USA Network asked them for Raw to go to 3 hours. So I don't know if maybe you'll see some kind of a change as far as the formatting goes, but I don't see it unfortunately getting back down to 2 hours just because it's a network concession and not something WWE actually wanted to do.
Oh, I just
because USA sees the fact that advertising on WWE television is probably the highest rate they get for advertising, So let's see here.
But yeah, Nitro should have never did that.
In the news, Dave Taylor is being retained by WCW and will get his first minor push. Bill Dundee and Burt Prentice both visited backstage at the WCW Saturday night tapings.
Real quick, Dave Taylor, in doing research for my show, I was like, I wonder how old Dave Taylor was or what. I don't know. I couldn't remember if he still worked for the WWE or not. So I looked it up. And do you know when he debuted?
I do not.
1977.
Holy shit.
1977. And when he got to like WCW, he looked like Regal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Like, that dude had been wrestling for 20 years before he finally came to the States and wrestled in a major promotion, and then was still working in the WWF in like 2009 or whatever. It's fucking nuts. Like, when did all that Mercury?
Did he wrestle for like World of Sport and shit over there or something?
Yeah, he went everywhere, across Europe and then like Germany and all that shit. But yeah, 1977.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm sure he was like a Dynamite or a Regal where he started when he's like 15 or whatever, but it's like it's fucking crazy. That dude's career went for fucking ever.
Dennis Rodman is estimated to be receiving between $1.5 and $2 million for his 2 scheduled in-ring appearances with WCW. There is no word on when his second in-ring appearance will be. Question, and I know you're not a fan of Dennis Rodman. However, is $1.5 to $2 million for the exposure that he gets WCW? Is that money well spent?
It's folding money for WCW.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I shouldn't say WCW, because that 1.2 or that 2 million, it wasn't coming out of WCW. That was coming out of Turner Sports.
Mm-hmm.
So they could have, like, he probably could have got more if he would have been smarter. But I think Dennis Rodman's an idiot, so he's probably just like $2 million. Okay,
I'll take it.
Yeah. Shouldn't say Dennis Rodman's an idiot. I don't know him. I'm not a fan of him. Anyway,
Big Bubba is back with WCW after recovering from shoulder surgery. Said Eric Bischoff I always love, like, whenever I get to read anything, an Eric Bischoff magazine interview or Prodigy interview or a Vince McMahon Prodigy or magazine interview, it's always fun to.
They're so arrogant.
Yes, that, or just to hear their mindset at that point in time, Like last week, there was a magazine article that when Archie was on the show that I read, and it was Vince, and it was this was before the show. I recorded the show before Vince retired, but all the stuff Vince was talking about all the scandals and stuff, and it was like, lo and behold, 25 years later, here we are again. It's just like, what a life. one of these times, I just want to do an episode of one of our shows, just the life and times of Vince McMahon, because we've all got to watch his crazy fucking life for 40 years.
Wait a couple of years, make it the life and death of Vince McMahon.
All right, let's see. Said Eric Bischoff in the Icon article that he did he said this about Vince McMahon. He knows that he's getting his ass kicked. There's only one way he's going to rally the rest of his audience behind him, and that's to be an underdog. I half-jokingly say disparaging things about the WWF because controversy creates interest, but in reality, Vince is living off of the fat of the success that was created for him by others 10 years ago. One of the other delusions that Vince tries to perpetrate is that we take all of their stars. Vince McMahon is probably one of the slickest con artists in the world. In fact, he's one of the most dangerous types of con artists because he believes his own bullshit. Hulk Hogan made less money here for his first 2 years in WCW than he did in his last 2 years in the WWF. That's a fact. You're dealing with a guy who has an ego the size of Mount Everest and actually believes this stuff. It's pretty strange. A lot to unpack there. Eric, as far as ego, there's a pot kettle. Let's be honest.
You're living off the fat of what Vince McMahon created years ago.
You just said the name, Hulk Hogan.
Yeah. And Vince didn't say that you lured him away with money. He just said you stole him. And he did. And, well, I mean, he didn't technically steal Hogan because Hogan was gone.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk about stealing Randy Savage and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and all these other
Roddy
people.
Piper. Yeah.
Roddy Piper. And you know what? He did it, and Vince did it before him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like I feel sympathy towards Vince McMahon. Just admit what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, yes, I lured these guys away to my company to make it a bigger situation. But he has a hard time with that for some reason. Like,
right.
He admits it when he said, like, no, he doesn't even totally admit it with the Paul Heyman fucking taking Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. His point with Paul is actually correct, but is what I'm saying makes sense. You lured them away by and it wasn't even the fact that you offered them more money. What he did was offer them guaranteed money and less
and a better.
time.
Yes, I was going to say, a much better schedule. Yes.
Like, I will pay you if somebody looked at me and said, I will pay you the same exact amount of money that you're making right now, but you only have to work 180 days a year, I'd be like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Also, Hulk Hogan, your contract is going to be a Turner Home Entertainment contract, which means through that contract, you're allowed to make X amount of movies a year. Yeah. And say what you want about, we can joke all day about how Hogan's movies suck and they were straight to video, but he made more for one of those movies than I'll make in a salary in 4 years.
And Eric Bischoff said something that he could get away with saying is true. Like, he could have said that, like, probably under oath and got away with it, because he said that Hulk Hogan made less in his first 2 years in WCW
than he did in the prior 2 years in the WWF.
Yes. Yeah. But he's not talking about, he said WCW. It's like you said, he didn't say nothing about
Turner Home Entertainment. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, when he said the WCW thing, he said basically Hulk Hogan made less money in wrestling in his first 2 years than his last 2 years. And he's right.
Yes. He could pass a lie detector on that one.
Yeah. So he's a bullshit con artist too. So
of course he is. You can't be a wrestling promoter without being a bullshit con artist. And I'm not dissing wrestling promoters. I know a couple of them, but they have to be. That's you're dealing with pro wrestlers. You're a carny. You're PT Barnum. Right. That's what you're doing.
I think the only one that wasn't was fucking Jim Crockett Jr. and he got duped by a bunch of carnies. Like, he was kind of, I don't want to say dumb, but he was kind of the first, like,
he's a simpleton.
Yeah. He was a fat kid with money, with his daddy's money, and he just got hosed.
I loved it. Like
Dusty got him to buy him jets and cars.
Yeah.
And
And I love that era of him. Well, first of all, Jim Crockett, whenever he was on TV, always looked stunned.
yeah.
Secondly, I loved the era, like where they were doing the whole, like they were going to make that office in Dallas or whatever, and they got the private plane. I love that he started wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Like he started wearing like the Banana Republic hat or whatever. And it's like, look at him.
He got duped. And when I think of like him, I think of like, and his dad, I think of like fucking Smokey and the Bandit, Big Enos and Little Enos. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where Burt Reynolds looks up like
when we get home,
not the sheriff, not.
Oh, that's who I was thinking of.
No, I'm talking about the guy that they originally hire, Bandit and Snowman to tours.
Yes.
Because he's like, look at that, listen to my daddy. You know, and he looks up at him. He's like, because he's like, they're both wearing this cowboy hat, so he's just like a miniature version of him. Big Enos, Little Enos. That's what I think. Big Jim, Little Jim. And then Little Jim, I guess. But anyway, we're getting off the rails. Sorry.
Well, we got the WCW Saturday Night TV tapings, July 9th in Jackson, Tennessee, with 1,861 in attendance. They taped the July 12th and July 19th editions of the show. Chad Fortune and Johnny Swinger each received tryout matches. Terry Taylor watched the tryout matches from ringside. Public Enemy beat Viano 4 and 5. Steven Regal pinned Scotty Riggs to retain the TV title.
All right.
And I'm just going to say it again. We've said it on the show before. I like Scotty Riggs.
I do too.
Ultimo Dragon beat Hector Guerrero. I bet that was a good match.
Yeah.
Greg Valentine beat Mike Enos.
But that was
even with
a great match.
At this point in his career, with Valentine, probably not. He was what did Jake Roberts call him? The Turtle.
Yeah,
he was the Turtle.
That was when he was young. He still called him Turtle when he was young. Imagine like old Greg Valentine.
Juventud Guerrera and Hector Garza beat La Parca and Psychosis. Barbarian beat Jerry Lynn.
It's a weird match.
Eddie Guerrero beat Joey Maggs. Jeff Jarrett beat Joe Gomez to retain the United States title.
Ugh.
Yeah. There's not a lot I like about that one. Glacier and Ernest Miller beat Scott and Steve Armstrong. I bet that was decent.
Yeah. I think that was when the Armstrongs were kind of being like a heelish type team.
Yeah. Just they were being as heel as those two could be. Because to me, I mean, I look at Scott and Steve, Scott and Steve Armstrong as baby faces, but so they're being heels like instead of putting their thumbs up when people are, they get it like the Maven thing.
Yeah,
they're a heel now because they get up on the ring apron and do that thing with their hands. We're like, get out of here. Chris Jericho beat Alex Wright to retain the Cruiserweight title. Squire David Taylor beat David Haskins.
I don't know who that is.
Alex Wright beat Hector Guerrero. Meng beat Bobby Eaton. During which potential Eaton partner Joey Maggs came out and watched. Yeah, so something that I covered last week that I never knew, but going back through this now, sometimes I learn some shit, I'm like, I never knew that. Did you know, and because you weren't on the show last week, but I'd love to get your reaction to this. They were considering putting Bobby Eaton and Joey Maggs together and calling the Midnight Express.
That's a terrible idea.
I mean, I'm glad it never happened, but yes, I never knew that, and I read that last week, and I was like, "Fuck that shit."
Who's gonna manage him, Sonny Dono?
Imagine Cornette's reaction to that if it would have happened.
Like, what? He probably would have showed up.
I want to fight Eric Bischoff right now. He'd been out in the fucking parking lot. Because back then, he would have been out in the parking lot with a goddamn baseball bat. Yeah. Cornette was out of control back then.
And I don't think Joey ever jumped. Honestly.
Nope. It's like a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
6 beat Lenny Lane. I'm sure that was a decent match. Yes. Lenny Lane's underrated.
Yes, he is.
Prince Iaukea beat Cheetah Kid. That's one of those silly ideas that I always thought was a good idea. I thought it would have been cool if they would have had Lenny Lane beat Chris Jericho's brother. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. So you said who beat Cheetah Kid?
Prince Iaukea.
So I wonder if that was Ted Petty double dipping.
Maybe. Super Calo, Juventud Guerrera, and Hector Garza beat Viano 4, 5, and Silver King. Hugh Morris beat Roadblock. Oof.
Ew.
Chavo Guerrero beat Johnny Swinger.
I guess if you got to moonsault that guy, that would be like moonsaulting in a pudding. It's like, it's not going to hurt. A knapsack full of pudding. A knapsack. I almost said it'd be bigger than a knapsack.
A knapsack.
A water bed.
A water bed of pudding.
A pudding bed.
That's Roadblock's new name, Pudding Bed. Pudding Bed.
I wonder if that guy's dead.
He has to be. Vincent beat Scott Armstrong.
Ugh.
And Conan and Scott Norton beat Harlem Heat. And that was your WCW Saturday Night TV taping.
Now, he's not dead. He's still alive.
Oh, wow. That surprises me.
He's 61.
I don't know. I pegged him a heart attack just waiting to happen, but
yeah, he's 61, still alive. I have fond memories of Saturday Night. I mean, that was I don't know. I just, as a kid, you know what I mean? Like that's when I think of WCW, that's the WCW. Like that's the WCW I think of the most. Like in
fondly.
Like, yeah, like when I think of like WCW, the first thing that comes into my mind is like Lex Luger, Sting, Ric Flair, the Steiner brothers, Doom. You know, I know it wasn't called Saturday Night per se at that time, but it was still 605 wrestling. And that's the WCW I think about. I don't automatically think of, and even though we say it's our favorite year, but the first people that come into my mind aren't like Kevin Nash and the NWO. It's those guys. That Brian Pillman in his fucking Bengals trunks and all that shit. That's what I think of.
All right, so that's it for WCW. Can we take a little break?
Sure, it's your show, man.
Okay.
I'm not doing jack shit.
All right, I'll be right back.
To present a short excerpt from one of the lectures I do at the Royal Historical Society, giving information about our realm and its history. And I've done some drawings here. I'd like to present it in the realm of song. and it's about our monarch, Henry VIII. So, music, please. I'd like to tell you a story tonight. Henry VIII was capable of a fight. When I got a taxi, grew some wings. I flew around his boudoir, pissing on things. There he goes, flying low, flying slow, and smoking a pipe, running for your life.
And here's your teaser. The words are ace holes. The clue is put a bow in it. That's ace holes, put a bow in it. See you after the break. Welcome back. The answer to the teaser. The words were ace holes. The clue was put a bow in it. It was, of course, shoelace. Okay, another letters game coming up. And to ramp up the tension, this time, it's the tension round. In this game, we're playing for double points. It's the tension round. Miles, are you feeling the pressure?
Oh, yes. I'll tell you what, it's bloody colon's feeling the pressure.
Sean, Miles, you get to pick the letters on the tension round. You look slightly more tense, Miles, and not be giggling.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, now pick some letters.
Okay. Consonant, 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 consonant.
M, J, R, B,
Vowel, 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 vowel.
I, E, A, I.
What have you done?
Next, would you want a consonant or a vowel next, Sean? Well, I think you'd better go with a consonant. Well, vowel. Quite a consonant.
D.
Okay, for double points, in the tension round, your time starts now. That shifted some beef. Tense, wasn't it?
It's not so much tense, it's still right at the end when a fucking bomb goes off.
John and Amelia. 5. Row 7.
5.
Sean?
5.
1.
I got 5. I got 4. 6, 5 then. I also got confetti in my reggae sauce. Comment on that complete.
Shit.
What are you thinking there, out of interest? Whatever you gave me.
Was that canal walk? I assume it's safe. I mean, I'm guessing the beach is safe to eat. So Miles, what were your finds?
Braid, bread, bream, beard.
Yeah. Okay. Sean?
Yeah, that's what he has.
What are you? Okay, Rose?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Bread.
Okay, Vic, Susie, could they have done it better?
Barley, which is an Australian colloquialism.
What?
Oh.
I'm not
Do you know what barley is?
All right.
body. It's
Oh. You ever watch any Jimmy Carr's comedy group stuff? It's 8 out of 10 cats.
I have not. I've seen some like clips on YouTube, but I've never watched an entire one.
That's good shit. He's got another show. I don't know if he made any more of them yet. British TV is weird with how they do their seasons and shit like that. But it was a show called I Literally Just Told You. And it's like a show of he has two people, these two ladies, and they're just meticulously taking notes of the show. And like in every game show, and they have like the contestants, they'll say, where are you from? And this guy will be like, I'm from Yorkshire or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like a couple rounds later, they'll be like, James over here told us where he's from. Is he from Yorkshire, Sheffield, or like they're asking you questions not about things that happened like a long, long time ago or whatever. They're asking you things about what's going on right now in the show. And it just it's crazy. It's weird, but it's actually pretty cool. It's actually a pretty cool concept for a show.
He's a witty guy. He's smart.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody, sorry, this just came to my mind. Somebody tried heckling him once, and he was like, "If you want my comeback, you're gonna have to get it off your mom's teeth." And then he just kept on.
That's good. All right, now we'll move on to ECW here, and there's not a lot of ECW news, but there is a big show with a lot of happenings at the ECW arena that we'll run through. July 20th in Philadelphia, ECW Arena, 1,400 turnaway crowd. In the opener, Cronus with Saturn beat El Puerto Ricano. Ricano had been gone from ECW for months. After Cronus beat Ricano in a short match, Saturn hit Ricano with his crutch. They did a great job getting use out of Perry when he had that injury.
Yeah, they still kept him around, and it was nuts that he could still do his elbow with his fucking broke. Like it's like that's insane.
Because for those of you that don't know, or maybe didn't watch at the time, or if you're listening to this show, you probably did. But if you don't, he didn't just have like a cast. Like his whole fucking leg was immobile. Like he had the hugest like brace that you've ever seen.
And there was a period of time, I want to say from like 96 until about, I don't know, Moppy, where maybe a little bit before there was a period of time where he was one of the best wrestlers in the States, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously, I'm not joking. I'm not like just saying, oh, I'm a mark for the guy or whatever. I think he, bell to bell, was one of the best workers in the country, in my opinion.
He was really good.
Yes. His partner, not so much, but Saturn, yes. Like all day.
Axl Rotten beat Tracy Smothers after a chair shot. Smothers bled from the shot to the head. Then Mikey Whipwreck and Spike Dudley beat PG-13. PG-13 wore the USWA tag titles to the ring, but refused to put the belts on the line in such a minor league city. PG-13 beat on Spike until Mikey got the hot tag and scored the winning pinfall. Candido and Bigelow beat Balls Mahoney and Chris Chetty. Joey Styles came out and noticed Blue Meanie, who was wearing Taz colors at ringside. Styles sent Lance Wright to interview Meanie. Meanie mocked Taz and then wisely left the building. Styles introduced Rick Rude, who came to the ring with a woman on each arm. Rude said he signed a 2-year ECW deal earlier that afternoon. Rude said he was surprised Lawler would show his face at the ECW arena, but added that Dreamer and Sandman don't need a partner to beat the heel threesome. 2-year contract with ECW. Give me a break. Taz beat Lance Storm to retain the ECW TV title. Storm didn't get booed, but Taz got way more cheers during ring intros. Storm got in some early offense, but Taz took over with the Tazplex and the Taz Mission. Storm escaped the first Taz Mission, but Taz reapplied it for the win. Don't particularly remember the match, but I'm sure that was good stuff.
Yeah. I don't think Lance Storm could have a bad match if he wanted to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he couldn't accidentally have a bad match. Yep. Terry Funk beat Shane Douglas via disqualification to retain the ECW heavyweight title. They brawled right at the start and quickly spilled to ringside down the aisle. Back in the ring, some of the fans began to cheer for a title change. Funk went for a spinning toe hold finisher, but Francine jumped into the ring. Funk gave her an atomic drop. Douglas escaped to ringside, but Funk applied the spinning toe hold on him outside the ring. Candido then ran into the ring to save Douglas. Francine responded to Funk's atomic drop by biting him on the ear. It drew blood, and the ref called for the DQ. Those two guys always had good matches with each other.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. It's probably after this. Him and Funk and Candido end up having a couple good matches, and there's one where Candido dresses up like Funk for his match with Funk and does like a dead on, like, it's not the impersonation, because Kristen.
It's the walk and the mannerisms and
it's the work and everything like that. He works Terry Funk as Terry Funk, and it's really good. Really fucking good. And you can tell he was like, "This is fucking gonna be great, man." Yeah. like he's doing it as a wrestler. He's doing like psychology. He's doing it like he's mocking Terry Funk, but in the real life situation of it, he's like,
paying tribute,
homage to him. Yeah.
Yes.
Fucking great shit.
The Gangstas beat the Dudleys in a weapons cage match to capture the ECW tag titles. Apparently, there is only room for one tag team in ECW's Purgatory, and the Pitbulls have displaced the Gangstas, who got their first major win since the incident last year in Revere, Massachusetts. Before the match, Bubba complained about being locked in the cage with two convicts. After a violent brawl with weapons, Devon climbed over the top of the cage to the floor. In the ring, Bubba gave New Jack the Bubba Cutter, but Mustafa crawled over and pinned Bubba, who knocked himself silly, executing the cutter off the top rope.
That's the only thing ECW did sometimes that I was like, really, guys? It's kind of ridiculous. And they're like, this is a weapons match. It's like, your ECW, like, every match you tell me is could be a weapons match. Like,
yeah. Oh, well, and then they'd have, like, that title match, and I'm not knocking the performers involved.
Yeah, but there's a DQ.
There's a DQ, but there's all kind of shit that goes on. But then eventually the referee's like, "Oh, Francine bit Funk's ear. Disqualification." In the third mystery partner gimmick match in 7 days, Dude Love in the WWF, Kurt Hennig in WCW, Rick Rude turned out to be ECW's surprise partner. Rob Van Dam, Sabu, and Jerry Lawler defeated Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, and Rude in the main event. Before the match, Lawler said over the house mic that Dreamer and Sandman were unable to find a partner. This is another ECW ripoff, Lawler said. Rude then stood up from his broadcast position on the stage and began walking to the ring. The crowd went nuts. Lawler egged on Rude over the house mic. Rude entered the cage, but immediately turned to Dreamer and gave him the Rude Awakening. He then left the cage, since his back is still in no condition to actually work a match. The 3-on-2 beating went on several minutes until Terry Funk ran to the ring to make the save. Candido, Bigelow, and Douglas stopped Funk from climbing into the ring. In the cage, Dreamer was tied to the cage in the crucifixion position as Lawler applied a groin claw. A series of wrestlers ran to the cage to try to get in, but heels kept everyone out of the cage. Taz eventually did make his way into the ring. Sabu and Van Dam fled, leaving Lawler to get the Tazplexed and Taz missioned in the mid-ring. Candido then ran in and went after Taz, but Taz put him out with the Taz mission. Rude, Francine, Bigelow, and Douglas eventually overwhelmed and beat on Taz. Rude gave the triple threat sign before leaving. The event ended with Taz, Dreamer, and Sandman being helped from the ring. Can you imagine being in the back and you're going to do this tonight, and then Paul Heyman is explaining to you all the shit that's going to happen in 15 minutes. I mean, I just read it and I was out of breath. Like sometimes, and I'm not saying it's good or bad, but sometimes ECW, like, was any other company ever able to pack more into a shorter amount of time?
No, and it worked, and it wouldn't. Other, I don't want to say it. Rousseau tried it with WCW, and it didn't work. You know what I mean? And part of it's the environment. You know, like ECW should have felt chaotic. Like,
yeah,
like this is like unhinged. There's nobody controlling this thing. It's insane. But like with WCW, like it was like you're in a. I know they were in arenas, like ECW wound up in arenas and stuff like that. But their core shows were in small buildings, chaos, whatever. It worked for EC. Like there's pay-per-views where fucking they never went to the back or did an like it would just be the match would happen and then something else would happen would lead into that match or lead into that match or lead into that match, and you might get two spots for Joey's. Like they show Joey and he's just like, it's insane, we gotta keep going. And then they just go into the next match. You know what I mean? Like there's pay-per-views that I've watched where it's not like, let's go back to this interview with this guy. It's all one thing happens that leads into the next match. Is what I'm saying making sense?
Yeah. You're just telling a continuous story of the entire promotion throughout the whole night.
Yeah, it was just the most controlled chaos shit in the fucking world, and I loved it. I'm not one of those guys that'll say that ECW aged out for him. It didn't age out for me. I still fucking love it.
Well, that is it for ECW. There's no ECW news to report, which is kind of surprising. Nobody overdosed. Nobody got convicted for something this week in 1997. So now we will do a.
So this is we're going over the week of May 24th, obviously, right?
June 26th or July 26th.
July 26th. Yeah, I said May. I don't know. It's because I'm watching May for my show. Sorry. When did Rude become? And if you don't know off the top of your head, it's fine. When did he become the insurance policy?
He became the insurance policy in September of 97.
Okay. I just thought it was kind of weird that they turned. Like I thought they turned him because he was going to go to the WWF.
No, he's still with ECW for a few more months.
I don't know why they would have turned him then, but
all right. So we have a week of indie shows here that we can go through. There's a few. July 12th, July 13th through the 19th. Hardcore Championship Wrestling, July 19th in Reading, Massachusetts at the Moosehead Hall. 400 in attendance.
In other words, Bush League ECW.
Mad Dog Matt Storm won a battle royal. Flash Mysterio beat Black Wolf. Battle royals, indie battle royals. It's the
12 guys that nobody knows who the fuck they are.
Yes, and for those of you that do not like frequent indie shows or whatever, what an indie battle royal is for is to get guys on the card that the promoter wants to take a look at.
That
let me see your shitty gimmick. Let's see if you can work.
That, or these are the 10 guys that the former wrestler, now promoter, is training.
Yeah.
To get them out there, we're actually working in front of a crowd and doing physical bumps and stuff in an actual match. That's what that is. And
you're usually going to see somebody that honestly, and you tell me if I'm wrong, usually you see a guy that you see one of two, you see two things. You'll see a guy that you're like, God damn, that guy could be a star in that battle royal. And then you will also see inevitably somebody get hurt or you know what I mean? Like some catastrophe happen. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's the beginner squad or whatever, and the guy that wins the match is the puppy with the big paws. It's going to be the promoter thinks it's going to be the star.
Yeah.
And then some guy gets hurt, and he's probably like, I'm not going back.
Like that last Heroes and Legends show we went to, that insanely jacked motherfucker that was in that battle royal.
Yeah.
Like everybody else looked all schlubby and everything, and this guy was like, God damn, this guy could be in WWE tomorrow.
Yeah.
Look wise.
And that wasn't when the philosopher got hurt.
No, that was the one before that.
Yeah. I remember when the philosopher got hurt because you noticed it. I wasn't paying attention. You're like, oh, I got fucked up.
And then they were like, promoter to the back, please.
Yeah, we need the
promoter to the back
immediately, please. And then they went to intermission, and I went to get a beer, and this fan was talking to the guy that kicked him, and he was like, "Oh man, that was a slick ass kick you gave to that philosopher guy," and that wrestler couldn't even like kayfabe it. He was like, "Yeah, that one of my proudest moments." He's like, "God damn, not one of my fondest moments."
Yeah, I feel pretty bad actually.
I feel pretty bad about that actually. Like, I just ruined that guy's career.
In the next match, Storm beat Livewire after breaking a beer bottle over his head.
All right.
Paul Azzoni beat TJ Richter. Dallas Austin beat Stormtrooper.
How many stormtroopers?
Oh man,
fucking into wrestling.
Some of them are Nazis and some of them are from Star Wars, but either way, they're stormtroopers.
Why somebody should have combined it. Like
a Nazi
Star Wars.
Eric Draven beat Gen X. Gen X was legitimately injured and left via ambulance. Promoter to the back, please. Promoter to the back. Intern number 1 beat Dean Morocco.
It's all up and down.
Or no, this guy's like, it's all coming up.
It's all coming up for the Dean Morocco, brother. This is my manager, Mr. Fudgy. My son. I am Mr. Fudgy.
Welcome to Fudgy Vice. El Diablo beat Kick-Ass Kyle Storm to retain the Elite Wrestling Alliance Indie title. I actually like that name. Kick-Ass Kyle
Storm. Kick-Ass Kyle Storm. Like, he's the prodigy talent of that company. Like, he's the promoter was like, I'm putting everything on Kick-Ass Kyle Storm. Kind of like when that fat fuck rolling Alexander or whatever was trying to talk about Mike Modest.
Yeah.
The fact that Mike Modest doesn't have a contract with a major North American company is a travesty. Like, what the fuck up, you fat fuck?
A big dumpy fucker.
So, do you know about reading labels and fat content? That's my favorite part.
Because then they switch. They switch to the guy he's talking to, and he's looking at him like, "You've got to be fucking kidding me."
No, the blonde guy looks at his buddy. Like, he's like, about reading fat content and food labels and stuff, and that fucking blonde dude looks at his black friend like, "Is
this for real? Is this actually happening?" And Kick-Ass Kyle Storm comes out to rock you like a hurricane.
Yeah. Or I don't know, what else would he come out? Jump? No, I don't think
maybe. Nah, not Jump. Rock You Like a Hurricane or something from AC/DC. In the next match, Dragonfly beat Studley Steve.
And this is a hardcore wrestling or whatever?
Yes.
So Dragonfly and Studley Steve went on after the championship match?
Yes.
Doesn't make any sense.
Dallas Austin beat Eric Draben and Palazzoni in a 3-way match. That was the last
Come
match.
up with that fucking name. What does that even mean?
Palazzoni?
Yeah. Sounds like something you get at fucking Fazoli's.
I'll have the Palazzoni platter.
Can I get a Palazzoni and some endless breadsticks, please? Yeah, and a Shasta orange. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, now All-Star Wrestling, July 18th in Jacksonville, North Carolina. Beautiful Bobby Dean beat Little Tokyo.
It's obviously a midget. That wouldn't be the real Little Tokyo. Good God, it could have been.
He'd be older than shit.
Yeah, probably dead.
Yeah, it's no way it's the real one or the original one. Malaya Hosaka beat Peggy Lee. Malaya Hosaka, a friend of Chad Austin's.
Yes.
Eagle beat German Stormtrooper. There's another Stormtrooper.
Yes.
This one's actually kind of funny. The Ring Lords beat the Rock and Roll Express thanks to interference from Mr. Hughes.
That's fun.
Ricky Nelson beat Mike Youngblood.
That could have actually been the real Little Tokyo because he died in 2011, so maybe it was.
Damn. Maybe he was younger than we thought he was at WrestleMania or whatever. I don't know.
So Ricky
Nelson beat Mike Youngblood, and then in the last match, Ricky Morton pinned Mr. Hughes in an unscheduled grudge match.
All right.
So after that tag match, he's like, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes is like, Undertaker.
Wake up.
All Pro Wrestling, July 18th in Hayward, California, at the Pacific Coast Sports Gym with 115 in attendance.
That's terrible.
Tony Jones beat Rick Turner. This is a name I recognize, actually, from the magazines. Boom Boom Kamini.
I think he did did he do a mob gimmick?
I think so. Well, he beat Jason C. Clay. Cowboy Frank Murdoch beat Ty Dalton. Robert Thompson and Donovan Morgan beat Tony Jones and Steve Rizzono. Michael Mott.
You said this was, what was it? What company?
Pacific Coast Sports Gym. So it's in Hayward, California.
Some of
All
these
Pro
names.
Wrestling.
Oh!
Yeah, this is Fat Boy's promotion.
Fat Boy's promotion. When you said Tony Jones, he's the black dude, isn't he? From fucking.
Yes.
Where Ross tells him to get something a little more flattering.
Mm-hmm.
His upper body. Yeah, I just brought up Fat Boy, and then we're talking about his shitty little company. This is all right.
Here's your next match. Michael Modest wrestled Chris Cole to a 30-minute draw. And that big schlub, that big schlub Vic Grimes beat Aaron O'Frady.
Aaron O'Grady. That you know who that is, right?
That is Crash Holly.
Crash Holly.
They have it spelled Aaron O'Frady here.
Well,
I'm sure that's
unless
just
he was doing like a
misprint.
scaredy cat gimmick.
I'm O'Frady.
How would you? Here's how stupid that fucking guy was. And I'm not knocking Michael Modest, okay? But how would you look at your promotion and be like, Michael Modest is the guy when fucking Crash Holly's sitting over there?
Yeah.
It's like, really? Crash Holly is. I mean, I know he wasn't Crash Holly yet, but it's like that dude was fucking great. Like, I think he'd still have a career if he wouldn't have been.
Oh yeah, for
as
sure.
Bad as I don't want to say bad. You know what I mean? But he wouldn't have had the problems that he had. I think he'd either still be working or he'd be teaching people how to work to this day. And where the fuck is Michael Modest? We all know where Roland Alexander is. He's in the ground, I think. I think that dude died.
No, he's got to be. Just a couple more shows here. World Star Wrestling Federation in Nescopic, Pennsylvania at Social Hall. Little Running Bear beat Bodacious Pretty Boy. That guy has two nicknames and no name.
Bodacious Pretty Boy.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, he should be Bodacious Steve or Pretty Boy Bill, but he's got
or at
two.
least Bodacious Pretty Boy Frank.
Right.
Like, give him a name.
Chicago Heat beat Playboy Jonathan and Love Struck.
That's a stupid name. Like
Love Struck.
Yeah, like if I was in wrestling, like if I was a promoter or even a fellow wrestler, and I was like, "Oh, hey Dave, did you come up with your name?" Yeah, I'm gonna be Love Struck. I don't think you should do that.
What, like Love Struck who? Like Love Struck Lanny, Love Struck Larry? Nope, just Love Struck.
Love Struck. Like, Godspeed. None of that.
Katra beat Nasty Angel.
As two big-titted blonde chicks having a match. That's what that was.
Hungarian Barbarian fought Jack Hammer to a double disqualification.
It reminds me of Power Pro Wrestling or whatever, that video game. Remember that for the PlayStation, the first PlayStation? Yes. Was it Power Move Wrestling? I can't remember.
I think it was Power Move Wrestling, yes.
Yeah, they had the Egyptian Conniption.
The Hungarian Barbarian.
Yeah, that reminded me of the Egyptian Conniption.
Perfect Creation beat Tommy Idol for the Cruiserweight title. The Lumberjacks squashed Super Steve Mitch and Steve Herman.
Oh, they wrote that wrong.
What?
Who they beat? You said tell me who they beat.
They beat Super Steve Mitch and Steve Herman.
Super Steve Mitch and Steve Herman?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it should have been the Lumberjacks cut down Super Steve Mitch and Steve Herman. They wrote it wrong.
Nikolai Volkov beat the Mad Russian. And the Hungarian Barbarian won a battle royal.
So Hungarian Barbarian is their man.
Yes. He's the man in what promotion was this? World Star Wrestling Federation.
Where's he from?
And in our
he should be from Parts Unknown. From Parts the Hungarian Barbarian. This is why I shouldn't ever have a wrestling company. I would have the dumbest wrestling company in the fucking world. Be like, make the Hungarian Barbarian from Parts Unknown.
The international wrestler, you have your mobster wrestler. You know, you call it. I don't know what you call him. You know, like Tony Walnuts, just mixing up the Sopranos names, and you're like, you know, like you start the dun, 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 like the mobster music, and it's like hailing from Boise, Idaho. Like, he's not from New York or New Jersey. Yeah, he's like, hey, shut up! He even talks like that.
Speaking of that, real quick, I think it's gonna be an HBO show, but and you can cut this out if you want, but I just don't want to forget about it. Sylvester Stallone has a TV show coming out, or like not a TV show, like streaming or whatever, and it looks really fucking good. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's called The King of Tulsa, and he's incarcerated, and he was in the mob, and he's incarcerated, and he's about to get out, and this mob that he worked for, they don't want him around because they feel like he's going to be out of date and not know a lot and all that shit, you know, but they also don't want to just fucking kick him to the curb because he did like fucking 20 years for him and didn't rap.
Right.
So they send him to fucking Tulsa. They're like, oh, open up a syndicate in Tulsa. So now, like, this mob dude that's been locked up for 20 years is just stuck in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or whatever.
That's a great concept.
Yeah, and it looks fucking great. And it's like they played this fucking commercial for it, and they're like, it comes out in November. I'm like, really? We wait that fucking long? It's really fucking good. Just look it up.
It definitely sounds like something I'd be interested in.
It looks really fucking good.
Our last show for the show tonight, and then we'll wrap it up, is International Wrestling Alliance in Kannapolis, North Carolina at Fieldcrest Commons Stadium with 2,500 in attendance. But don't take a big stock in that attendance, ladies and gentlemen, because it was a free show for those attending the baseball game.
Yeah, so they just said how many people were at the baseball game.
Yes. Crazy Kane Adams, ATOMS, and Ken Timms beat Jolton Brad Holton and Kevin Kirby. There's so much going on with those names.
A lot of shit. It's the shit salad of names.
Disco Inferno, Gene Ligon, and the Big Cheese. I love indie wrestling.
What is Disco Inferno doing there?
I don't know. Actually, no. At this time, oh no, I guess no. At this time, he is back with WCW because he left for a bit in '97, but he is back with WCW. I don't know why he's here. Maybe it was a prior commitment before he had went back to WCW.
I don't think he would have been a guy that like they would have been like, go out and see what you see and tell us back. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think he's at that point in his career yet. Because they'd have Regal do that in the WWE. Him work indies and shit so he can check people out. But I don't see Disco Inferno being in that type of role. So who fucking knows?
But that team, Disco Inferno, Gene Ligon, and the Big Cheese, beat Love Connection, which is Sweet Daddy J and Georgie Love, and Flamingo Kid via disqualification.
All right.
Then the Masked Superstar, which was actually Bill Eadie, beat Greg Valentine to win the IWA Heavyweight title.
But that was fast-paced.
At this 97, yeah, that was probably pretty plodding. As much respect as I have for those two guys. And also...
they're outside in July. And one of them's wearing a fucking mask.
And this is also probably one of those things where... Because it's always funny to me when like an indie promotion puts their title on a guy that's a big star, you know? Because then the next show, they're going to be like, the title was vacated. So tonight, like Billy D's not coming back. You know what I mean? He hasn't signed a return date.
Yeah, this was not a 5-star classic. I can guarantee you that.
In the last match, Malaya Hosaka beat Judy Martin. And a little side note for this show, for the entire show, Stan Lane was the guest ring announcer.
He's got a good voice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
you know what's funny? I am watching because it's literally shows that I haven't seen since they originally aired. WWE or Peacock put a bunch of superstars on the network from like 94 and 95. And that's literally stuff those superstar shows I haven't watched since they aired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Vince McMahon and Stan Lane, actually a pretty good duo together. They were pretty good. Like Stan played, he was cool at playing that line between, he was a baby face, but he would put over some of the heels, you know, he was kind of, you know, like he would play yin to Vince's yang sometimes, but then other times they would agree that, you know, what Shawn Michaels did was dastardly.
Well, like I don't remember a lot about it. Like I said, I noticed they put him up there too. Because when I saw it, like they had like one season, and when they say, "Oh, we got a season up," you'll look at it. Sometimes it'll be like 3 episodes. Like, I'm not gonna invest my time into that. You know what I mean? But if I remember right, he was like kind of like was he like the replacement of Kurt? Like when Kurt left for a little bit?
No, he actually was the replacement for Lawler when Lawler got in his
Legal shit.
troubles. Yes, when he got in his troubles and was gone for a while. And then, yeah, by the time, and then after, obviously after Lawler comes back, they're just like, come on back on to Superstars, Mr. Lawler. But yeah, he was kind of the replacement for Lawler when Lawler had his little shit going on in late 93, early 94.
All right.
Well, that being said, we're going to sign off here on Slice of Time. I want to thank Aaron for joining me this week.
Oh, you're welcome.
Had a good old time talking about the year 1997. Next week, of course, we will just roll on to the next week. Should be, I think, the week of July the 6th or August the 6th of August 3rd of 1997. Yes. Let me do some math in here. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. And of course, as Aaron said, you all know about the other shows on the network. Check out all the shows on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network, including Aaron's show, The Year That Was, which is also currently taking place in 1997, going through the Raw, Nitro, and or pay-per-views. Back then, the greatest year in professional wrestling. Check out Reliving the Extreme. If you're listening to this show, you're definitely listening to Reliving the Extreme. And check out Archie Mitchell. Check out Archie Mitchell if you smell what the Arch is cooking. And the newest show on our network, one of the newest shows on the network, Mark Brew with Indie Spotlight. And of course, David Gold and Cheyenne Ortiz with the Golden Voices podcast. We have a lot of shows here on the network, and we thank you for supporting each and every one of them. I'm going to sign off now. And everybody, we will see you next week, 25 years ago.
I can't see you.